Welcome to the Champion Secrets podcast, where I interview high performers, athletes, entrepreneurs, and humans who I consider champions, so we can all become champions in our own way. Welcome Sam Green to the show. She is an athlete, the athlete's go-to content creator for NIL stuff. This is a whole new world for me. Like, I was mind blown. A podcast I did with Michelle is just like, she's doing some really cool stuff in that world. She's a content advisor for Meta, CapCut creator. She was an NBA dancer, which is really cool, at ESPN editor, all things NIL sports, which is really cool. So yeah, just really excited to kind of dive into your story and share kind of with my audience kind of how you got to where you are now and the people that you're helping now. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited to kind of dive into all that stuff. So yeah, thanks so much for being here, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So yeah, I'm curious to hear about kind of, a little bit of your backstory, kind of maybe tell the audience kind of who you are right now, and then maybe dive into like sport maybe for you and everything like that brought you to this point. I'm just like so curious because it's like, for me, I know everyone I talk to that's like champions in their thing. There's such cool stories and things that like serendipitous things that get you to where you are today. So I just love to kind of dive into that. So feel free to kind of start whatever kind of with you, but just kind of getting into your backstory and kind of sharing who you are a little bit would be awesome.
Yeah, it took a lot for me to kind of get to where I am. I would say when I talk to people about kind of my background, I say, you name it within the sports and media industry, and I've probably literally done it and played a role within it. Mainly because I really was just called to like find my passion that would wake me up every day and be excited, right? I didn't want to wake up and just kind of do something to do it. And so I knew that I really wanted to find something within the sports and media industry, but with that is probably a million roles that could be listed.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I always had a background in sports. I danced in college. To your point, I danced in the NBA. I've been with my husband since I was 16, and he plays baseball and has played baseball since I've been with him. So always kind of had this background within sports and always an interest within athletes because of the mindset that it takes to perform at such a high level. My husband went through every single level of the minor leagues to make it to the major leagues. So I've been surrounded by athletes for years, and it just kind of always blew my mind the things that they would do to kind of get there. And so I just always had this passion for helping athletes. But when I was in the NBA, I was actually interviewed by like a media company, and immediately I was like, wow, I think I would like that side actually a lot better. Like, it
Wow.
wasn't for
Yeah.
me to kind of control the mindset and to try and like build this thing with dance. I never really wanted to be a complete professional dancer. Yes, I made it to the NBA, but I didn't want to make it a career. It was more of a hobby. And so I kind of made that flip and started sideline reporting for the NFL, NBA, SEC athletes, worked at Ryan Seacrest radio station running a sports show. So really kind of got like that side, like the interviewing in front of the camera side under my belt. And then after college, I went on to become a video editor at ESPN, and same kind of thing. Like, I liked it, but I wanted to kind of like tell athletes stories more so than report their analytics. So I left and started my own YouTube channel, interviewing professional athletes behind the scenes and getting to know them, and then turned that into a nonprofit and kind of monetize that. And then started being basically a content creator for athletes at an exclusive gym specifically for high performance athletes. And that's where I kind of found this little niche or niche where athletes kept coming up to me and asking me questions on, look, like, how do I land a brand deal, especially like the female sports that these athletes weren't making much money on an annual basis. I found a little knack in helping them like kind of subsidize their income through landing brand deals by making content. So just kind of walked into that role, honestly, by mistake on the professional side. And then when NIL was legalized, I was like, oh my God, like, I felt like the industry was literally made for me. It was all the things that I
Yeah.
had loved: sports, athletes, media, content. I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I've been searching for. And so
Yeah.
quickly made the jump, worked for a few people within the space while it
Yeah.
was first legalized, launched some educational platforms for some companies. And then it picked up enough steam that I was able to walk out and kind of do it on my own. And now
Yeah.
I travel from school to school, really teaching content creation workshops with a hands-on approach by partnering with brands like JBL, Marriott to teach athletes how to actually shoot and edit their content. and kind of learn the skills to build their brand, to build something that will outlive their playing career. So that was long-winded, but it has been long-winded.
Yeah, wow, that's so cool. I feel like in my journey, and similar to you, it just seems like all these little things you did along the way have like helped to get to you kind of where you are, like doing content and doing
No
interviewing,
doubt.
like all that to kind of where you're at right now is like obviously all those things were pivotal. So that's really cool. And just finding your way. And so once you like saw that opportunity and saw it, like, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm all in on this. Like you just were like, you kind of like went away from everything else that you're doing and kind of went full steam ahead on that. And I also, once that was like, once you found out that that was legal and this thing you could do, that was kind of where you went from there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, something like my husband even always said was like, when you wake up every day, you need to know like what your goal is and what you're building so that you can kind of go all in on that. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
finally the first time that I woke up and felt like I knew what I was building and I knew what goal I had, and it was to help as many student athletes as I can really utilize this opportunity that they had in front of them while they have the chance. Because I
Yeah.
danced again in college in the NBA and I didn't get to build that brand. I actually got completely burnt out from social media and deleted
Mm-hmm.
my account and lost that entire fan base and had to start from scratch. And so I just
Wow.
kind of woke up being like, this is it. So yeah, I really kind of went all in because I had finally found it.
Yeah. And it's crazy how our pain becomes like our mess becomes our message sometimes, like something we struggle with that we dealt with. Cause like, yeah, for me, I mean, I feel like because I played beach volleyball for a while and there's just like it's so impossible to make a living unless you're like the top three like
Hmm.
players or four players, like you're not getting anything. And so for me, like I was like, I had to like had side gigs around the side and try to figure out how to like because
Yeah.
then you lose your focus on your sport. It's so hard, like as an athlete, you want to be
Yep.
an athlete. And so like I'm sure you like that was huge probably in your dance careers, like you said, like shutting down social media. Like I remember I was getting frustrated and it was stressful for me. It was like, I feel like I have to keep up all this.
Hmm.
And it's like, I want to be an athlete. Like, so like, what like take me into that a little bit because I know a lot of athletes and myself and some people I talk to deal with that. And that's yeah, there's a lot there.
Well, I work with a beach volleyball Olympic athlete actually, and
Oh
same
yeah.
exact thing. He's like, I don't make squat. Like, people don't even know we were like paying out of pocket to basically play what we love. And so my biggest tip, because he felt the same way, like he's like, I just want to play this dang sport. Like, I never agreed to sign up for all of this. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I think that that's the negative side of social media, but it's inevitable in any career path. It's not just sports. I mean, if you look at hairdressers, like hairdressers say they used to just want to do hair and worry about color and cutting girls' hairs, and now they have to be a social media manager and a content creator to be able to get their name out there to even build a clientele. So I think step one is like getting over it. Like, it's just, it
Yeah.
sucks, but it's a part of it. I
Yeah,
think the good
I
part
agree.
is
Yeah.
the good part about it for athletes is you guys like athletes automatically have a fan base that's there because of their
So
name on the
true.
roster, so they're at
Mm-hmm.
least ahead of the curve of other industries. But then
Yeah.
step number three, like one thing that I'm really passionate about is finding a way to curate athletes social media to build something even beyond their sport that they actually enjoy doing. And for an example, I work with an athlete, a collegiate athlete who's a track athlete, and she wanted to be a motivational speaker when she graduated, and she thought that wouldn't even be possible until she was done because, to your point, she's like, I just got to focus on my sport. But I helped her kind of curate, a whole content plan where using her platform as a student athlete to be inspirational and motivational with the audios, or with speaking to the public about her experience. And it turned into her literal college job now, where she books local high school like speaking gigs, and she's building that while building her sport. So I think number one, it's like waking up and realizing, why do you want to really optimize or utilize social media in your platform? Like, what is it that you're trying to build? And then I think that you can monetize that no matter what. If you're passionate about it and you're going to be consistent with it, you're going to find a way to make money or to land deals and to kind of help that side of the lack of income being an athlete easier if you actually wake up doing what you love versus forcing it and doing it because you feel like you have to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's so true. And I feel like that helps as athletes too. Because if I were to like go back when I was an athlete, like if I could have something else I was focused on, whether it's like helping mentor the next generation or like whatever that is, like that they're
Mm-hmm.
passionate about too, like then that could fuel their, yeah, or like you said, NIL or things like that. But being able to like, yeah, have your brain turn off and like focus on something else to where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, and you don't like, you're just like, all right, it is what it is. I'm just have to be a part of this and this is what it is. But yeah, that's interesting because for me that was really hard for me to separate that a little bit.
And I mean, that's the reality. That's a big thing with athletes. Like, there's so many uncontrollables within sport, like, and that's the most frustrating part about being an athlete and why it kind of takes like 1% like mental fortitude to be able to get
For
out
sure.
there, because you can't always control your physical performance. I mean, you can try all you
Hmm.
want, but at the end of the day, there's going to be analytics that don't go your way or a game that doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
And so social media could be an outlet where athletes, if you empower them the right way to be able to build something that they actually love, it's something they can control. And it's something that, athletes just work so hard to receive these achievements, and you can do that within social media. And so once I feel like I'll get an athlete actually in the groove of it and realize what they can build and that they have the control, it's actually enjoyable because it's
Hmm.
it's different for them. It's something that they can actually take and build without kind of any real stipulation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge on the controllables, and like I worked with some volleyball athletes mindset wise, and that's huge to focus on the controls. And I, as an athlete, to be able to
Mm-hmm.
do that in business, to be able to be like, okay, like what are the things that are actually moving the needle that I can control versus worrying about the post that I posted out. Oh, did I
Right.
get that many comments? Those things that like don't matter, but you're doing the thing because you know you need to do the thing.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm so curious because I know for me, like I've been in digital marketing since I was 13. Like I started building websites. I'm
Wow.
29 now. I was homeschooled my whole life. So like I got into digital marketing when I was like a kid. So this NIL stuff like really intrigues me. And I've worked with like clients that we've done $100,000 like product launch for a digital product, like things like that. So like I'm curious like where and like how like where did your kind of marketing experience and all this like come from? And like how does business and marketing like it is involved with the NIL stuff? Because it feels so, but I don't think I've been able to connect the dots, kind of thing. And I know you.
Similar to you, I mean, I just had an interest in it at a young age. I was
Mm,
completely self-taught as far as like video editing goes. So
mm-hmm.
when I was in high school, I was on the morning announcements. I was teaching myself how to edit on iMovie, actually, because a girl in my high school created a really cool video for the morning announcements. And honestly, I was jealous and I wanted to be as cool as her. And I saw
That's
how much
awesome.
attention, how much attention she got within the school from creating this cool video. And I'm like, man, like I got to learn this. And so it just kind of always just developed over the years. And then I think that the world kind of pushed it that way. I mean,
Hmm.
content's not going anywhere. It's only gotten bigger and bigger. So
Yeah.
I think that is kind of another big step about it. Like some athletes in general, like don't care about social media. And that's okay. Like you really don't have to. You can be that athlete that just puts your head down and plays. Know
Hmm.
that, be okay with that, and don't live in that guilt.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think mine started because of a genuine interest. And where it ties in, I mean, it's everywhere. Like digital media marketing, like
That's really.
I don't think there's a definition to it anymore. I mean, mine always started actually with social media, and I've never focused on like SEO or like the by the book digital marketing.
Like
Mine's always just
funnels and
kind of
like CRM and like all that weird stuff.
never. And I
Yeah.
still don't, right? Like I
Yeah.
should I? Because I run my own business in the NIL space, which is volatile on SEO, absolutely. But I just play to my strengths and weaknesses and chalk it up to
Totally.
that's really not my interest. So where can I
Yeah.
put my energy? And so it's
Mm.
just kind of always been the social side, and luckily it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. That's awesome. So for you right now and your clients you work with, you typically work with like schools and like bring the education for that because that's awesome. You literally have access to all the kids, like the people that need the
Mhm.
information versus going one on one. So how does that look? Is that kind of just like from your social media, you're getting the attention of these schools to be able to go and help them, and kind of what does that look like? Do you work with them on like a 60, 90-day basis, or is it like you go there for a weekend workshop? I'm just that's really neat stuff. I'm curious what you're doing there.
Thank you. Yeah, this actually all completely got started through Instagram, which is crazy because I'm not viral.
Yeah.
I have like 7,000 followers. When I started my business, I think I had like five. And I never sent a cold outreach email to a school saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. I just started literally providing value for free on Instagram. Didn't pay attention to every single platform. Again, it's not like I'm doing paid advertisements or anything like that. I just wanted to give free advice. And so I kind of just started hitting record and putting it out there. And lo and behold, the universities were listening and called me. And so um, it works a bunch of different ways. I don't make my money off of athletes. Like that's kind of like one thing I don't want to say I'm against, but I kind of I kind of am against it. I
Yeah,
just
it's
want to
hard because
help
they
them.
need,
So
yeah, you want to help them, and it's hard. That's like the
yeah,
barrier. Like, do they need, sometimes they need to pay for it, but then you're like, oh man, I don't want to make, because they need, like, yeah, it's a hard place to be in. You get it. I was in the same exact boat. Yeah. For
Yeah, so
sure.
anything that I do a lot of one-on-one with athletes. Honestly, it probably takes up 50%, if not more, of my actual calendar, and
Wow.
0% of it is paid. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that I make money on is a $4.99 Instagram subscription, monthly subscription, where
Wow.
athletes have
Yeah.
unlimited access to text me any questions that they have, and that's just to kind of be able to filter who I should respond to first versus not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's the only way I work that. But yeah, at the university level, the schools or the brands that I'm partnering with to go to the universities are the ones paying, and or college collectives, which is about to kind of change July 1st with all these legalities changing. But
Mm-hmm.
it works a bunch of different ways. I actually just started off doing like a day rate or a half day rate where I would come in and do X amount of workshops. But now that it's worked and it's kind of stuck, and the schools are seeing more of a need for in-depth education, I'm starting to roll out kind of a few exclusive long-term contracts with specific
Awesome.
universities to be able to come in numerous times throughout the year, and it's expanding past just content creation workshops. And I'm actually coming in start to finish doing like customized social media strategy for individual athletes to help them build that goal, like the motivational speaking gig, or
Yeah.
I'm helping the athletes learn how to speak on camera, because a lot of them don't even know, how to talk to media, or they
So
don't even know
true.
how to talk about a brand on camera.
Mm-hmm.
So way more of an in-depth curriculum that I'm implementing on a longer term basis, but you can
Mm-hmm.
still obviously bring me in for just the day or a couple days.
Yeah. That's cool. That is like, man, that's so cool. You could just tell how passionate about you for doing that pro bono.
Mm,
Like you're like, guys, I'm here literally to help you. Like that's what I'm here
yeah.
for, and you're not charging anything. That is just mind blowing. So, what does that role play in your life? Like, I feel like when I do things like that, and I know I have coaching programs for athletes. I help them sell digital courses, and I do mindset coaching, things like that. But like, I'm just so curious because that's so cool. I'm so passionate about it. A lot of the times, I want to just be like, oh, I don't want to charge you, but it's hard because it's like the
Yeah.
people that I don't charge, they don't pay attention at the level of people that do. Because like one guy that paid me, he made like triple the amount of money in like 2 weeks. And one guy that I did for free, then
Mm,
he was like, I don't have to, I'm not going to do the homework. And I'm like, dang it. So like that's the only thing
hmm
that I struggle with, that part. But like, take me into what that role is like as far as fulfillment. Because I know for me, I've helped a couple athletes, and I've only helped like two athletes, but it's like so cool. It's been so fulfilling to me. So like, and I just
hmm
hear it from the way you're portraying it. You're like 50% of my calendar is literally there to just help these people. And so that's so cool. But like where does that come from for you passion wise? And then like, how does that help with fulfillment? Just because I think us as humans, that's what we're, so to be able to impact those people is probably where it's at. What I'm guessing, but I'm just curious.
I think you genuinely have to love it. Like, there's a lot of people that get into the sports industry for the sole purpose of monetizing or making
So
money,
true.
which,
Yeah.
listen, at the end of the day, everybody has to pay their bills, everybody has to eat, everybody has to
Yep.
have a roof over their head. Like, so you can't literally do absolutely everything for free. Like, I'm not
Yep.
that
For sure.
naive, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
my intent to get into the industry was I love so much helping athletes and working with athletes. How can I find a way to make it make money versus I'm getting into the NIL to make money? And I
Yes.
think that is what
Yes.
athletes sniff out, in all honesty. I mean, there's a lot of companies that literally decided to dive into the NIL with zero experience in the sports space, all because they thought it's a new $1 billion industry and they were going to be rich from it. And lo and behold, it is a lot of work in a brand new industry that you have to put in and
Yes.
just do time and hours and serve and serve and serve.
That's
So
so true.
it's worked because I just love it, to be honest. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at taking an athlete call as work. I look at it as like, these are my friends almost, or, I'm
Yeah.
genuinely
That's how my
helping
clients
them.
feel too.
And
That's so cool. Yeah. That's
yeah, and
awesome.
it comes back. It comes back around because
Yeah.
now I have athletes call me saying, I literally called my athletic director and told him that we need to bring you in because you helped me so much. And I'm not even
It's
having to make a call to the athletic director because the athlete I help them
exactly.
is getting me in the door. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
karma, God, whatever you believe in, it does
Mm-hmm.
always come back around no matter what. So it's worked for
Yeah.
me so far. And that's, just how I'll continue.
That's so cool. Just like certitude and value. You're like just giving that free value out there. People will come and like, and you just give, give, give. And like, that's that Alex Hormozy guy. He's the same way. He's just like, give, give, give,
Yeah.
give, give, and then be able to, yeah, yeah,
And you have to be willing to sacrifice. I mean, I
yeah.
can't tell people how many vacations I've missed or
Oh,
how many
yeah,
months I lived at home to make it happen,
for
or,
sure. Yeah.
how many
So many
months
sacrifices.
apart from, my husband or whatever it is. Like, it's a sacrifice. That's why you really do actually have to love it.
Yeah. And that's the only thing that keeps us going. Anyways, most people are like searching for that next thing. And then when you find that thing, you're like, I'm gonna all engulf myself into it because I
Hmm
can really help people at the highest level. And that's so cool. Because I know I've freaking fell on my face 10 times before I finally feel like I found like, all right, this is kind of what, you know, I'm ready to rock and roll with. So that's so cool. So like with you, when you work with a client or like when you work, I guess just to kind of hear how it works, like you're working with, say, an athlete, you know, one of those 50% people, like you're basically helping them like figure out who's the best fit for them and then how to create content to get those people to pay them basically in the NIL world. Is that
I kind of start from ground zero. So like
okay?
I
Yeah.
said, it's like I start with like identifying their goal because that's like step
That's
number
where
one.
it
That's going
starts.
to
Yeah.
impact everything else. It's going to impact what
Yep.
brands you need to outreach. It's going to impact how many times you need to post or not post. Like if you don't care about going viral and you're just kind of looking to build this thing, you know, long term over the next 4 years, great. Then we don't have to worry about hitting the algorithm. If you care
Yeah.
about being a full-time creator when you graduate, that's a different approach. So I just kind of start from ground zero of what their goal is, and then we build it out from there. But yeah, identifying which brands they should like reach out to is definitely a part of it. Figuring out their rates, figuring out what products they should be
Mm,
able to do for free just to be able to claim it on their resume versus who to
yeah.
charge versus how to even communicate with brands versus where are they even reaching out to these brands? Is it Instagram? Is
Yeah.
it an NIL platform? Is it an influencer platform? So really
Yeah.
everything I do is custom based on the athlete. And at the end of the day, a lot of it's going to come down to how much work they're willing to put in.
For sure. Yeah. And people are going to be in so many different spaces too, because I think it's so easy when you've been in marketing for so long. Like you think people know, but like, especially in this space, like it's so like under educated and undernourished. I feel like as far as like for athletes, they just don't have like I see, you know, the coaches and courses like world where it's like Russell Brunson, all those people, like everybody like knows it. And so like in this world, when you talk to someone, like it's so hard to like not talk as if, you know, the experience you've had for your 10 years versus like talking, figuring out where they're at because yeah, I mean, it's so easy to assume that like they have these. And for me, I think that's easy for me. Whenever I talk to athletes on this front, I need to bring it back to like, man, this is such ground zero for them. Like this is like
Mm-hmm.
never even like saw this in their like plain view. It was just be an athlete, and like maybe Uber Eat and maybe coach and maybe like, you know, coach at a club in summer schools. And like, that's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
what athletes like did, I feel like, for money. So this kind of like is almost like a way to kind of like give them that, you know, and be able to align with brands that they kind of believe in. So that's kind of like, I guess, impact driven the way you kind of help these people ultimately.
Spot on.
That's so cool. That's oh man, and just knowing that you're able to do that each and every day for those people, that's so cool. So I think the thing that I'm really curious about is like the athlete con that you guys just did like a little while ago. Take me into that a little bit. Like, where was that vision? How'd you guys create that? And like, I wish I was there. Like I was saying when we talked before we even started
Thank
recording.
you.
But I'll definitely be coming to the next one. But yeah, I just want to hear kind of. I'm sure that's all like a lot going on with that. Just coming off the. It's like probably like a summer camp.
Yeah. So I just saw the need. I've been to probably every single NIL event that there is in the entire industry, and I kept going. And were they great? All these events? Yeah, absolutely. But I kept noticing a couple different things. Like one, it was always about like the corporate sponsors or like the businesses that are in the room, and not about the athlete. And I'm like, but this whole industry is about the athlete, and like the biggest gap within this industry is not resourcing the athletes on how to succeed in the space. And 90% of these deals now are based on brands paying athletes to create content, and these athletes, some of them don't even know how to make content. And so then the other thing I kept seeing at these events, which is still great, I'm not taking away from it, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of panels where like with every
Mm,
event that I went to, it was groups of people on the stage just talking at the athletes, and it turned into more of a look at me, listen to me, I'm on the stage, I'm on the panel versus actually providing the value for the athlete. And so I actually had an
mm,
athlete text me not long ago that they were at a different event, and they had come to AthleteCon, and they were like, dude, oh my god, like now I realize why you didn't do panels. Like the panels, it's turned into like group think or, you know, group talk, where it's just like whatever the other person says you're kind of spinning off of. Like my whole goal, I actually approached different companies within the industry to try and implement something more tangible or hands-on, and everybody already had, you know, respectfully so, like their curriculum and their plan, and thought I was kind of like crazy for the idea, because it was so much work. But
yeah.
I was like, all right, if no one's going to solve this freaking problem, I'm going to do it. I have zero employees. I had zero staff. I had 3 months. I fundraised the entire thing in 3 months. I flew in 60 Division 1 athletes. I got brands for like Meta, TikTok, Canva, LinkedIn, to come and actually TikTok, I don't know if I said that, talk to the athletes. And it was no panels. It was all hands-on workshops teaching the athletes how to actually make better content and build their brand, because that's what this industry is about. And then I had over 25 brands there with like product where the athletes actually took it in hand and went and took what they just learned from all these industry experts, created content live in person for the brands. If they published it on social media, then they were entered into an NIL competition. And we had a Pink Turf Suits and Sneakers Awards night where the brands actually awarded their favorite athlete advertisements with long-term NIL deals, cash in front of them, live in person. So I felt like the goal was to make NIL tangible and actually educate these kids on what is actually going on within the industry. And I felt like I did hit that goal. And so now next year I'm excited. I mean, I did that in 3 months. I have a whole year to plan the next one. So excited to have you there and excited to
Yeah.
kind of see how it develops. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, developing and like seeing that need and being able to create a space to where they can like, that's so cool. Actually implement rather than, oh, let's hear these people just talk about this, talk about this. Wow,
right.
let's like, what can we do right now that's going to actually get you, closer to signing that next deal? Like that's so cool. Like that's what people want. Like in this day and age, people can talk. We can watch YouTube videos all day long, but it's like, what is the actual executable, implementable things that I can do right now that are gonna, make the
Yeah,
difference?
no doubt.
So it's really neat. I think that's where most people get bogged down. And I know for me, for like when I first got in the industry, it's like that like shiny object syndrome rather than just like, all right, let me
Always.
just like sit in on this like two things that post this or whatever. You probably have simple KPIs these people can do that are going to get them that result, like post this amount of times per whatever. Like, is that something you do with your people too? That like not per se that you can guarantee them a result, but like the things that you should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, of course, there's always going to be a formula. I'd say it's way less like KPI or like metric driven, and it's way more like I just kind of keep repeating the same point to you, but like it is that goal at the end of the day, and that's what kind of
Wherever they're at,
drives
that
the
vision. Like if
KPI.
you don't
And
have that,
yeah,
then it's like that's going to be the KPI specific to that. It's not going to be like
yeah,
whatever. Yeah, yeah,
if
exactly.
you do want, if your goal is to go viral, then yeah, you do need to post X amount of times out of the day. And yeah, you
Yeah.
do need to post these specific types of content because that's what is going to hit an algorithm versus if you don't care
Hmm.
about that, then it's completely different. So
Yeah.
it is case by case. So
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, I probably have different metrics and things
Yeah.
based on different goals.
Where they're at. Yeah, yeah, totally. And I'm
Hmm.
guessing you probably see those two, like it's probably two extremes. It's like someone that wants to go all in on it, or like not that wants not
Oh yeah.
anything to do with that. It's probably hard to have like anything that's in
Well, I
between.
have to warn a lot of them to not burn out too, because some of them get
Yeah.
so jacked up, like, oh, I can do this, I want to do this. And then it's like, yeah, but you got to chill. It's like, if you go so hard to start, like, you're
Yeah.
going to burn out. It's just
For
inevitable.
sure.
So,
Yeah. Those
yeah.
little simple, yeah. Anything we do that we try to like, yeah, exactly. We're just gonna be like, all right, Toes, like my first week booking podcast, let me do like 10. And it's like, no, dude, you're
Yeah,
not gonna
right.
keep doing that. Good luck. Let's keep that
Exactly.
sustainable pace. Let's do like one or two a week and like that was
Exactly.
like, yeah, something
Literally.
sustainable that you can actually implement. Like we're saying, the execution that went on at your event, that people can actually go and use these tools and go and start and sign deals right then. Like that's like why keep talking about it in these panels when you could just people could just be
Right.
closing
Let's
deals right
actually do
then.
it. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. That's really cool. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Talk about it, be about it. That's awesome. But I know you shared you said you've been with your husband since 16. Like what role has that played? Because I know as a champion and someone like for me, like having like that a family for me and like having my wife and now
Hmm.
a couple little ones like changes the game, how you can really just stay so focused and like in your lane and be like how has that like helped you as just not only a human but being able to like provide this value for an athlete? Because whatever's happening at home like helps us, what
Hmm.
we're doing out there. So I'm really curious about that, what role that has played.
I say it all the time. I literally wouldn't even be building anything, I don't think, if it wasn't for my husband. I mean, I always had a drive and a motivation to do something and to build something. But I mean, day in and day out, the conversations that he's helping me navigate, even mentally, right, or emotionally, it is the difference maker as to how I'm able to get up and keep doing it, even when you feel like you're getting your like head beat in or head against the wall, where things can get frustrating or you're at a standstill or you don't get a deal that you want or a conversation didn't go the way that you want. Like it is important to have
Mm-hmm.
that system in place. And I feel like, I mean, athletes know that, right? They all say they wouldn't succeed. Even like Olympic athletes say they wouldn't
Oh
have made
yeah.
it to the Olympics if it wasn't for their family and their support system. So to me, it's the
Mm-hmm.
exact same thing. And the benefit that I have with him is, he made it to the top, so he
Yeah.
knows what that pressure is like. He knows what it takes to get there. He knows the consistency and the work ethic that it's easy to bounce kind of things off of him. And then at the
Oh
same
yeah.
time, I'm in a industry where it's knowing athletes and getting to know athletes, and he is an athlete and thinks like an
Yeah, I was
athlete,
gonna say he's
so
like your ideal
it's
client, so you can
beneficial.
test things
Yeah,
off on him. He's like, wait
right.
a second, yeah, like does that
Yeah,
make sense to you? Yeah,
exactly. So
that's really
cheat
cool.
code.
Yeah, that is cheat code. Yeah, get married, people. People are saying don't get married. It's like that's like the
Oh,
best thing
thousand
you ever
percent,
do. I know
1000%.
that's literally the best thing you can do. It's so funny in this day and age. People don't want to talk about that, but it's like that's that's a beautiful thing.
I agree.
That's awesome. So did he play baseball like growing up throughout his whole life? Was that his like sport? And did you kind of help him with some NIL stuff, or did he kind of go all in on? Was he the guy that was like, no social media, let me go all in? Or
Yeah, I always joke that baseball players are like my worst clients. Like, I love baseball players to death. I know them like the back of my hand, but like that old school baseball mentality and like locker room culture is still very outdated. So, getting him to do deals, yes, he has, but it's his like lowest on the totem pole as far as
yeah,
like
priorities. Yeah,
priorities. But he loves my business and loves watching me kind of help the other athletes that he kind of gets a fill without having to do it himself.
yeah,
But yeah, he always played baseball, but in all honesty, he's like the opposite. Like, he hates sports. Like, he really doesn't love, he likes the game, he respects
yeah.
it and he enjoys it, but he wasn't ever like this like die hard, like I gotta
Hmm.
play, I gotta make
Yeah,
it. He actually made it to the major league level, was playing for 3 years for the Angels, and just got burnt out of the game because he played
yeah.
for his whole life and didn't know
Oh
anything
yeah,
else, and
that's
actually
hard.
took a year off. But then the
Nice,
grass isn't always greener, and
for
it kind of gave
sure.
him a lot of perspective. And we
Yeah,
started kind of coaching other athletes, and it gave him a newfound respect on the game. And now he loves it and truly enjoys it because he kind of got that take a step
that's
back and kind of saw the perspective. So yeah, it has been his whole life for sure.
wow, that's really cool. I remember when I was playing volleyball, I had like went 4 years straight, and I was like, I need a break, and I took a lot, and I was like, the best thing I need, like my brain just needed it.
Yeah,
You're like, as an
reset.
athlete, and even in business too, we can get to that same sense. I feel like as an entrepreneur and athlete, it like integrates pretty well, like a lot of the same
Monetize.
things. So it's very easy to overtrain in as an athlete, and very easy to overdo it on the business side. I know for me too, like just to like it's just like that's athletes, like you said, that's those are the people we work with, high level people that like have a high level mindset, like they like it's just different type of human. And so I think that's so cool that that's your ideal client. You get to literally bounce things off of your significant other and say that's
No
funny. And
doubt.
you're, like you said, your toughest client, I guess, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
No
funny.
doubt.
That's cool. That's awesome. So yeah, I'm curious. I mean, for you, you got so much going on. Like, what is the next 6 months, 12 months? Like, what does the future kind of look like for you? Like,
Yeah, I'd say my two main things are really like these long-term contracts and athlete con. In all honesty, like that's what I'm
yeah.
going to be kind of heads down building. So it's kind of, I have to limit how many contracts I actually sign because that's X amount of visits and X amount of time to
Totally.
go to the school. So um, it's kind of limbo right now because, again, like the legality is changing as of July 1st. So kind of waiting to see and tie up some of these contracts to see where I'm going to be spending a lot of my time this next year as far as actually traveling and
Yeah.
assisting athletes at the university level. And
Uh-huh.
then simultaneously, again, it's me. I don't really even plan on hiring staff, in all
Yeah.
honesty, not
Yeah.
anytime soon. So, Athlete Con, which will be basically a second full-time job alongside of it. So,
Yeah, exactly. That's so nice to have your narrow focus, just like these two things. These are what I'm going to crush.
two
And like,
things.
you can say no to so many other things like that, which is
Yep.
the most beautiful thing. Because I think for me, that's what kind of like, yeah, the family responsibility in that front does. And then being able to like know and be all in on the thing that you love to do so that you can do that each and every day. And that it's not like pulling teeth to wake up and go do what you're doing, which I think it's sad. That's what a lot of people are kind of doing in this day and age. For sure. But yeah, I'm curious, like, because I mean, for me, I've got a client who I work with, and he's an athlete, and he signed a contract with a school to do like coaching for the school. Is that like is it like consulting? Is that kind of what you're doing for schools? Because like I feel like it's
Yeah,
so
pretty
hard to
much.
work like with it's basically consulting with them.
Yeah, that way I don't have to work for one university exclusively. I'm not saying I won't
Yes.
ever get there. Maybe one day I
Yeah.
will. But yeah, I want to be able to resource as many athletes as I
For
possibly
sure.
can. So the
Yeah.
consulting route allows me to do that without kind of saying no to everybody.
Yeah, totally. And you mentioned the date July 1st. Is that you said there's like a new NIL thing that's going down there that might kind of.
Yeah, so as of July 1st, and Christian, I'm sorry, I made a rookie mistake and didn't plug in my laptop and my charger's upstairs. So my computer's on 9% like an idiot, but we'll
No,
get
you're good.
through a couple more questions.
Yeah,
Just giving you a fair
for
warning so it
sure.
doesn't
No, I
shut down in the
appreciate
middle of
that.
the episode.
Yeah.
Um, so July 1st, universities are officially able to pay athletes, which is mind blowing. As of now, it's been brands paying athletes and or third parties, which have been considered college collectives, paying athletes, and the school has not been able to touch a dollar of it. And now they are actually able to allocate that money. So I don't think it's going to change a ton of stuff because at the end of the day, the top earning players have always been the ones making the money, no matter where the money has been coming from. There's always going to
Yeah.
be a gap, in my opinion, for the non-revenue generating sports that aren't bringing in the money. Are they really going to be making money from the university? Probably not.
Yeah.
There's always going to be schools that have more of a budget than other schools, which allows them to have a competitive edge versus a smaller school. So I think
Mm-hmm.
there's still going to be similar problems that exist, but at least
Yep.
now there's a lot less steps for the athletes to actually make the money.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy. So up until now, NIL was the thing that like brands could sponsor and basically like, hey, give you a meal or give you money for posting and things like that. But now if you're saying the schools can actually like pay their kids like that are competing. That's
Yeah, so
crazy.
I
That's just
think
mind blowing.
essentially, yeah, like pay to play essentially is what's going to be the biggest like change. Like athletes have been paid just to play, even though it
Yeah.
was illegal. There's been things going on within the industry where an athlete will put one Instagram story up and that'll classify for $100,000 salary. Like clearly that's,
Yeah.
being paid to play and not really about the exchange. So but
Yeah.
now, like, yeah, like a school can literally write a kid a check, which is gonna be a big deal.
Wow. And so that's NCAA? Is that something they're doing because well, I wonder why. Is there a reason that they're doing like stepping in and making that because of the brands taking all that, or is that something to do with that? Or I don't know. That's
I'd probably throw you to one of my like NIL like lawyer friends
oh
to
yeah,
answer one of
nerd
those
out. Yeah,
because
no, I'm just
yeah,
yeah.
like I don't really, I should probably know more of the legality side of it and like the purposes and the
Oh, yeah. I mean,
reasoning
you're just trying to
behind it
help
than I
people. Not
do, but
really. You're just helping
yeah.
people. You're like, who cares about all that stuff? I just my curious brain goes to that. I'm like, I'm curious. Is that a big
Yeah.
move by them or yeah? Awesome. Well, I know you said your computer's gonna die, so really appreciate your time. This was awesome.
Yeah,
I
thank
just
you
wanted
so
to
much.
dive in. I'm so glad we made the time and made it work. So thank you so much for being on. Hopefully, athletes, you guys, if you guys are looking to get connected to a brand or get your school connected with an NIL person, Sam's your gal. Get a hold of her. She's crushing on Instagram. I pass anyone that's talking to NIL in my world over to her. So yeah,
Thank you.
really appreciate your time and definitely anyone listening, definitely dive into her stuff. She's pushing some really cool stuff out there and helping a lot of athletes. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Back at you. Thanks for having me, Christian.